Let's take a look at linear inequalities. Now, linear inequalities, what is the difference between a linear equation and linear inequalities? Well, they have the form ax plus b is less than some kind of number c. That is just one example. Of course, we have also the greater than option. We have the less than or equal option, and we have the greater than or equal option for our linear inequalities. We're going to solve them the same way as we solve linear equations. However, our solution is not just one number. We have an infinitely many amount of numbers. For example, if it says x is greater or equal to 3, it starts at 3 and it goes to infinity. Let's take a look at an example for 2x minus 3 is greater than 5. This would be a linear inequality. We'll solve it the same way as we solve an equation. We're going to bring the 3 over. 2x is greater than 8. And then divide by 2. X is greater than 4. Now our answer has to come in form of a graph on the number line. So we have 0 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For example, x is greater than 4. If we show this solution graphically, we need what is called a parentheses on the 4, and our inequality points to the right. That means our arrow has to point to the right as well. So wherever this inequality points to, that's what we need on our graph. Now let me remind you, or let me review real quick. You need a parentheses if the number is not included. Parentheses for when the number is not included. In other words, this means if we have greater than or less than symbol, strict inequality. If we're having an example that says greater than or equal or less than or equal to, we need brackets to express our solution. So brackets like so, and that means the number is included in the solution set. Number is included, number is not included in the solution set. So we use this when we have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Now one other instance where we need parentheses if our solution goes to infinity on either side. Negative infinity, positive infinity always calls for parentheses. We're not done with our solution set here. This is the graphical solution. Now we can write it in interval notation. Interval notation, we're starting from the left and going to the right. So basically you copy your number line. We have a parentheses. At 4, 4 is not included, and how far do we go? We go all the way to infinity, and that is, of course, a parentheses as well. So this solution goes from 4 not included to infinity. Let's take a look at one more inequality. We have to solve it just like a linear equation. We distribute the -2. We need to clear the parentheses. -2x, -2 times -7 is positive 14, so plus 14 is greater than or equal to 3x. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 6. The x values, the variable parts, I like to bring to the left-hand side, while I like to bring the numbers to the right-hand side. I always start with the variable first. I have a positive 3x. I'm going to subtract a negative 3x term from both sides. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5x, plus 14 is greater or equal to 6. The 14 needs to go to the other side by, again, doing the opposite, minus 14. Negative 5x is greater or equal to negative 8. 6 minus 14 is negative 8. Now, to get x by itself, and here you go, pay attention. We're dividing by a negative number. Every time you divide an inequality by a negative numbers, what happens? You're reversing and you're going in the other direction. So that means negative 5 divided by negative 5 is 1x. X, now we reverse the inequality symbol. Do not forget that. Is less than or equal to negative divided by negative, let's keep it positive, 8/5. Leave it as a fraction. So again, if you're dividing or multiplying for that fact by a negative number, an inequality, you have to reverse the inequality symbol. Now, how do we show the solution now? On a number line, let's say 8/5 is right over here. The inequality points to the left. That means our arrow has to go to the left. But before, you have to ask yourself, do you need a parenthesis or a bracket? In this case, we're using a bracket because our inequality symbol is less than or equal to, bracket going to the left, like so. The interval notation for this particular problem would be, we're starting on the left, over here where my arrow is, and this arrow represents negative infinity. And where do we stop? We stop at 8/5. 8/5 in this case is included, bracket. Done, you are. This is your interval notation.